Hey there, it's Vashti Sarah. Welcome back to Post Blog. If this is your first time listening, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, like button, follow button, share button, all the buttons to stay connected with the Post Blog podcast. And for those of you who this is not your first time, welcome back. Happy Wednesday. I hope y'all are doing great. I hope your drive to work is smooth. I hope your morning has been great. I hope if you're listening to this right before you're going to bed, I hope that if you had a rough day, maybe this can give you perspective, because today's topic is about gratitude. It's the idea of having an attitude of gratitude, which is oftentimes hard, especially if life has dealt you a really tough hand, which life does in different seasons that we go through, especially if you're going through a loss, especially if you're going through a season of transition of all the unknowns. It's hard to have an attitude of gratitude. So, have you ever met anyone who is just stinky in their attitude? Everything is doomsday. Everything just is the end of the world. They don't know how to be grateful. They don't know what it's like to be grateful. They have a job. They have family. They have all the things in the world, but still nothing is ever good enough. And the attitude of gratitude is just not a part of their vocabulary. Well, I'm pretty sure you've known someone like that before. I know I have been like that before. I know many people in my life have been and is still like that to this day currently. And it's sad, to be honest, especially as followers, as Christ followers, we strive to be an example of who Jesus is. And to be frank, Jesus always had an attitude of gratitude. And yes, you could debate and say, well, he was perfect. Obviously, he'll have an attitude of gratitude. However, Jesus commanded us, he charged us, or if you will, invited us to be like him, to mimic him, to walk like him. And if we walk like him, then we will try to mimic or grasp onto those character traits that he had, or still has for that matter. So the attitude of gratitude is difficult. And often we try to just be grateful, or if you will, thankful during the Thanksgiving season. And this is actually when I released the blog Gratitude Attitude, and we're just now getting around to talking about it. But I think it's also fitting because Valentine's Day was a couple days ago. And to be honest, I think the whole Thanksgiving grateful attitude character trait should be a year-round thing. It shouldn't be just a seasonal thing. The idea of being grateful for people, loving people, giving them roses and chocolate and all the grand things in life should be a year-round thing. And I get it. There's some significance with setting aside a day to emphasize certain things, but if we don't actively walk in that attitude of gratitude, if we don't actively show that we're grateful to those around us, then do we truly mean it on the day that it's emphasized? Is it just out of obligation? The attitude of gratitude changes the lens through which we see the circumstances in our little slice of time. And I got this from my brother at Thanksgiving. Backstory. My brother, my oldest brother, Zebedee, he always shares a Devo, and I think that is his birthright. At least I've told him that is his birthright, to always share a Devo and worship, whether it be Thanksgiving, Christmas. Sometimes it's just oddball stuff that we're home for, and we'll just have a little Devo together as a family, which I think is super important. It brings the family together, it gets us talking, gets us on a deeper level, but this past Thanksgiving in 2021, he shared on gratitude. And this specific quote is from him. Gratitude changes the lens through which we see the circumstances in our little slice of time. The idea here that he was trying to portray is that when we learn to be thankful for the little things, when the big things hit us pretty bad, then we will be able to see that even in the midst of our circumstances, there's still something to be grateful for. So a lot of people outside of the Christian realm, I'd say, they encourage to start your day, have a routine where you write down thankful fors or my list of gratitudes. And to be honest, it's really funny. I find it very comical when outside of the Christian world, influencers share, this is what I do in the morning. This is my daily routine. And mind you, I'm not mocking them by any stretch of the imagination. I just think it's comical because a lot of it is rooted back into biblical principles. A lot of it is just directly straight out of the Bible. A lot of it is a part of the Gospels. Be thankful, count it all joy when you go through trials of many kinds. So I just find it comical that even though they are atheists and there are those who don't necessarily believe in the Christian faith, they do implement Christian principles, which I am for. I'm not against it. That's a little step towards Christianity. And, I'm here for it. Whatever little we can get, go for it. But again, I just find it pretty comical because it points back to Jesus, which is really great. And the crazy side of me is always like, joke's on you. Jesus always wins. But anyways, that was me rabbit trailing. So going back to the whole having a list of things that you're grateful for, a lot of influencers outside of the Christian community and in the Christian community emphasize start your morning being thankful, start your morning writing down things you're grateful for. And to be frank, that can oftentimes be extremely difficult. But when we learn to be thankful for the little things, when the big things hit us, it's not that it devalues what you're going through or it changes everything magically. It doesn't change anything except for your perspective. It changes your outlook on life. It changes your attitude and it changes that character trait that you have that can easily be discouraged and that can easily look at the world in a negative light, which yes, there's sin. There's things that happen in this world that is just awful. But the attitude of gratitude looks at the situation. It says, I will have joy despite what I'm going through. I will see the big picture. I will look beyond my current circumstance and remember. A couple months ago, I was venting to the Lord and I was just so frustrated with what I was going through. And to be honest, it wasn't anything major I was going through. In the grand scheme of things, when I look back, I'm like, wow, that was so petty, Vashti. You cried over that. But we're going through renovations in our house and then our septic system blew up and then we finished our floors and then the flooding happened. So it's things back to back to back happened. And I remember I was journaling and I was praying. I'm like, Lord, I'm so overwhelmed with what's going on. I'm so overwhelmed with all the things in the world. And that day I was reading from Matthew chapter 16, and it's about the portion where the disciples were discussing among themselves, they don't have any food and it's because we didn't bring any bread. And, they were going back and forth with each other. And then Jesus looks at them and says, "O ye of little faith, why are you talking among yourselves about having no bread?" And then he says something very key, very simple, but key to what I was going through. And in verse 9, it says, "Do you still not understand? Do you not remember?" And then it goes on to saying that I fed with 5 loaves and the 5,000s, and how many basketfuls have you gathered after that? 7 loaves for the 4,000. And, Jesus goes into like, hey, don't you remember what I just did a couple days ago? But I wrote down in my journal, do you not remember? And it brought me back to the whole idea of having an attitude of gratitude. Whenever we remember God's goodness, faithfully, daily remember his goodness, when the bad things hit us, we can still remain in that attitude of gratitude. Yeah, we'll be discouraged. Yeah, we'll probably be overwhelmed, but we'll still have an outlook of gratitude saying, you know what? Despite my floors are messed up, despite my house just got flooded, I remember God's faithfulness. I remember what he did for me yesterday. I remember what he did for me this morning. He woke me up. He got me to work safely. My family's safe and well. So when we remember that attitude of gratitude, when we remember to be thankful, when we remember that our circumstance is not bigger than who God is, that's when we've shifted our attitude. That's when we've learned who really is in control of our lives. My brother also shared, he said, being thankful changes our perspective despite broken dreams, broken relationships, chaotic circumstances, and unfulfilled longings. The world may be chaotic and messed up. My septic tank exploded and we had to clean, and unnecessary work, it felt like, but also humbling work. Also work that required Jared and I to have one-on-one time together, frustrating as it may be. I had to remember God's faithfulness. I had to remember that, you know what? Despite my life might be a little messy right now, and I mean messy and crappy, pun intended, God is still faithful. God is still good, and I can be grateful because I have my in-laws who live on our street that can come and help us out, that offer their homes for us to take showers in because we couldn't use our showers. And this is just a small glimpse of our life. You know, things happen every so often. And, you know, your situation is different from mine today. And my situation today could be different in 2 months from now. But learning to be thankful, it changes our perspective. It changes who we are. It changes how we speak. It changes how we respond to different situations. It honestly changes our heart. Having an attitude of gratitude shifts our focus from the situation and points us back to Jesus. So my challenge to you is simple. Do you not remember? Do you not remember the things Jesus has done for you? Do you not remember his faithfulness? Do you not remember what he's done in the past? Do you not remember that healing he brought? Do you not remember when he provided financially, emotionally, relationally? Do you not remember? I challenge you, wake up in the mornings and find at least one thing to be thankful for, one thing to be grateful for, and it could be the very breath in your lungs. And that's enough. That is more than enough, because you breathing, you waking up is a miracle in itself. Too often, I feel like we take life for granted. And because everything is so chaotic around us, life is of little value. That not even life itself we can be grateful for. Do you not remember? Yes, you may be going through some really hard stuff. It might be really crappy, but do you not remember God's faithfulness? Having an attitude of gratitude doesn't come overnight. It requires consistent training of your heart, consistent training of your mind. It's a mindset and a heart set thing where you have to consistently, daily write down and remind yourself, because God remembers. Everyone else who knows you well could remember and point out, oh yeah, the Lord showed up for you here, or remember when he did this, but it's you. You often forget. I often forget what God does for me. So you have to train yourself to remember that despite what I'm going through, I can have an attitude of gratitude because God is bigger than my circumstance. And when I learn to be thankful, it changes my perspective despite everything going wrong. That's it for today, guys. Thank you for joining me on Post Blog. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like button, follow button, share button, all the buttons to stay connected with the Post Blog podcast. Same time, same place next week. I love y'all. But remember, God loves you most.